Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people, he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side, he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better rev than death, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains of slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. He said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of men on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Logbook podcast. I'm Kim.
And I'm Dakota.
We have a very special program tonight. We went to a Morgan Luttrell town hall. It was absolutely fun. And tonight we actually have someone very special to join us with this town hall.
Well, not so special, but he's good to us all the same. Everyone, please welcome Vincent.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, man? How you been?
A lot of interesting things happening in my life, and I'm not going to get into the personal stuff yet. So, wonderful things. That's all I can say, I believe. So.
Oh yeah, we're at the same way. Just to announce everybody, I appreciate all your phone calls. HB 1894, the gun, Second Amendment. Oh gosh. Hi Paul, how are you doing? But HB 1894, the prohibition of red flag laws, has made it to a hearing. We will be in Austin. I believe we leave tomorrow.
Yes.
And we'll be in Austin Monday. We'll be full freedom. Again, there's a lot of veterans that were kicked out due to the vaccine. We will be addressing that. And then we also have the prohibition of red flags. So we are going to be handling that as well in that hearing, guys. Make sure they always record these hearings. Make sure to watch them at your Texas house. And I will be there. I don't know exactly what time we will be testifying, but we will be there. And
that's going to be quite exciting for you, isn't it, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. It's taxing. I've already had some great advice from great people on how to behave. And how to actually talk is literally stand your ground, but you don't have to be a bully about it. So I have a lot of people giving me pointers on how to speak. I realize that I do ums too much as well. Sitting here watching Liz, last week, and I realized, crap, I do the same thing, but she has a higher education than me, so she should actually know better.
Okay. Well, it's funny that you should say that because I have a friend of mine throughout life. I've known this individual 45 years of my life, long time. And she always said to me, Vince, it's not what you say, but how you say it. But today this was shared, and I think this was shared, and I believe it's Michael, one of our buddies out there, Michael Bird, who shared this, which was, be careful with your words. They can only be forgiven, not forgotten.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I both know, especially with me and my big mouth, I'm susceptible to getting that foot in it for sure.
Well, definitely. I have approached people before, and especially our lawmakers. When we were at the Lizzie Fletcher event the very first time, remember, we were respectful.
Yes, we were.
There were cat callers on the other side of us, but we waited respectfully because we respected the oath of office. But at that point, when Lizzie Fletcher said I was a non-veteran issue and totally disrespected me, yeah, that's military thing. You disrespect me, it's over. It's not happening. And when she did it again last week, no, I'm not going to sit here and be disrespected or lied to and used as a pawn in your political scheme. It's just not happening.
Well, speaking of political schemes or things going on, we've got an interesting show coming up for everyone tonight, right?
Yes.
Who's frozen?
The lighter side, it's going to be a great show to see Morgan Luttrell in a more relaxed state, we shall say.
I tell you what, sometimes hanging out with Congressman Morgan Luttrell, it's literally, Paul, you can know this. Sometimes it's just like hanging out with friends.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. He gets comfortable. He's comfortable around his constituents. And I like that. When he came to our CVA event, he announced that it was like coming home, and that really meant a lot. It really did.
Well, for him, it is kind of like coming home. I mean, he grew up in Willis, didn't he?
Well, no, being around veterans is what he was talking about. So, are you ready to go ahead and get started, Vincent?
Oh, yeah. I think Chad's got some issues of bad weather, so he may not be with us.
Yeah, it came through Texas earlier. Sorry, Chad.
Sorry,
Send it your way.
A little extra for him.
No, look, there's Miss Holly. And the green blazer, that's Miss Holly.
And we have no sound, and I don't know why.
Oh, we don't have any sound.
Here.
Okay, we're going to having some technical difficulties with the sound coming over.
I'll figure it out, though.
He's going to figure it out. Do you want us to drop down?
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to work on the sound real quick while we actually talk. Sorry, everybody. Hi, Ross. Hey, Paul. Yeah, you're right. He did grow up in, let me put up this comment here. He is everybody's friends, and yes, he grew up and they race and train horses. Yeah, we'll actually hear more about how I tell you what, he does hate working with horses as a child. He does disdain all the chores he had to do.
I don't know. Personally, I've always enjoyed mucking stalls.
Well, he's coming from a perspective as a kid, and he'll explain why and what it made him. What it made him into is doing those heavy chores, working on a farm and stuff. I think it's a good thing. So how are we doing, Dakota?
Maybe this will work.
Okay. All right, you got it?
A learning experience sometimes.
Yeah.
Life could be a learning experience.
Yeah, he's having a lot of technical difficulties, so we might have some feedback for a sec.
Is that a little Beatrice?
Yeah, she is. It was so cute. We've been at 3 events back to back. We were at Morgan Luttrell Friday. And it was really great. We got to meet Marcus Luttrell. So any of y'all that are a big fan of Marcus Luttrell and Lone Survivor, he busts into the office and he was like, "Hey, it's security's here." And I'm just like sitting there, what? There's 2 Navy SEALs. Yeah, we're pretty safe. It was pretty funny. Then we went over to the Boots for Troops event, and it was a very interesting turn of events. You could feel a lot of the tension in the room of how veterans they're switching right now. They've gone to all these charity events, and they've been going to these events for many years. Oh, yeah, we've got sound. Let's go ahead and get started.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I was wondering.
Okay. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Get that in Congress, please.
We actually, when I first got to DC, we'll enter in with the pledge. If we're going to the House floor or if we're in conference. Conference is just where all the Republicans come together. My first one, we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and I kept standing. I was like, wait, we got one more to go. I think we're the only ones that might do that. I actually said something. Everybody got a pretty good chuckle out of it, but I still can't get them to do it. Maybe one day. I don't know. Well, that's a good point. I tell you what, if anybody around as much heck as I do about something like that, it would be Chip. He's all in, man. I think so. I'm 5th generation, and I think he might be 7th, which is a source of contention with me and anybody else that's more of a generational Texan than myself. But anyway, but his family from where he was raised, like the generations for Chip Roy were in his counties where he represents. So that's really cool. And I'll get off my Chip Roy. The guy, he has, everybody knows who Chip Roy is, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. He has, somebody know? No?
I said who?
Oh. Yeah, do that. He's got a very Jeffersonian mind. The way that he sees things, and the way that his research and the way that he studies and the way that he writes is very Jeffersonian. It's amazing to actually be. You see it on TV, you know, if you're watching our committees, or if you're able to see him on the news. But when you're in the floor with him, or we're in conference or committee, just the way that he expresses it, it's very impressive. And that's one of the things that I learned early on in the first couple of weeks that I was in Washington D.C. Because I promised. And most of you, there's so many familiar faces in here. I always said that I was going to, hello.
That wasn't awkward at all.
Better late than never.
I'm actually glad people showed up. I was like, well, maybe this is going to be a shot in the dark, but thank you for braving the weather. Anyway, what I was saying is that when I campaigned, I promised, because I always get the question, hey, what are you going to do on the first when we first get there, first couple of weeks, first couple of months, and I always said I'm going to stop, look, listen, and feel. I'm going to learn the dynamic, understand the narrative. I'm not going to do anything to embarrass the district. I'm not going to walk myself into a corner, because you can do that in Washington, D.C. They will absolutely let you fall on your sword, hang yourself from a tree, and do anything without proper guidance. It's 435 different personalities that represent 330 million people. So if you can preach, hey, how are you? I've been welcoming everybody. And that has been such, I'm really enjoying being up there and representing us especially being from here and growing up here, but learning the personalities, because each member represents roughly 600 to 800,000 people, right? And they're the voice of their constituents, like I am for you all. And those personalities play themselves out every day, right? So you get to really, instead of traveling the country and embedding yourself in every single one of the districts and learning all the personalities from 600,000 of them, you get to meet the individual that represents them, so you can understand how the country is so diverse, right? And then it's my job to figure out who we align with and who's your friends and who's not your friends. And I will say this, because I'm only going to talk for like 10, 15 minutes. I'll open to questions. I don't deflect. If you want to crawl into a rabbit hole with me, I'll go all the way to the bottom with you. And then once we get down to the bottom, I'll start digging. Okay? I promised you that. I will always do that. I will give you what I know. I will never lie to you. Okay? You probably not hear too many politicians say that to you, but I'm going to be right up front with you. That's not who I am.
Well, they say it.
Hold me accountable. That's what I love about where we're from is, man, when I walk down the street, if I have not done right by anybody, I will hear about it. That's
So I know that we came on with Lizzie Fletcher's last week, but the reason why in the very beginning, the red shirt guy, that's Mr. Tom Norbis. He is fantastic gentleman here, a community hero, and he digs his heels in. So he came up to open with prayer. And when Lizzie Fletcher walks in, she just walks in, walks up to the podium, and she's just a narcissistic, catty little thing. But Morgan, I love it. He comes in, he opens with prayer, or we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And of course, we go on and on about Texas here.
Mm-hmm. There's few things Texans love more than Texas. So there's...
Well, that's what you guys have is like, it's called Texas pride.
Absolutely.
And you're very proud of the roots of Texas. Texas has an incredible history throughout our country. In the years of our history, incredible.
I will say this. This last statement, of course, we've actually been building a relationship with our congressman. So far, he's been a really good, not what I expected at all, not what you actually see. And even imagine walking the halls of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
He does report back. He's very transparent. He'll tell you if he doesn't know something, he'll get back with you on it, and he gets back with you. He got back with me on a few of my issues on Friday. And again, he said, how far do you want to go down this rabbit hole? And knowing that it's going to be hard, and there's people that are going to be in his way, but I'm counting on the tenacity that he has to take us all the way.
And here's the thing, if he's in his office, you're not talking to a staffer, you're talking with him, like face to face, sitting in his room.
And that's really the way it should be for us.
Yeah.
And his staff, every time I walk in there, like Miss Vita and Miss Holly just bounce up and they walk on over. And I'll tell you this, folks, if you start supporting your politicians, they will work for you. So don't come in their office and just yell and scream at them at all. That's not how we work. They're people too. A lot of the time, explain to me, there's a lot of death threats that even their staff gets. So come with that in mind. They don't trust, you don't trust them. Guess what? They don't trust you. And it's because they get more people in their face with their attacks, little threats, than they do with people on their side.
Mm-hmm.
So come with them and show them that you're on their side. There's a little bit of political game with it. Start believing, they're people too. Start believing in people, and people will believe in you back.
Here's the thing. I know our congressman's staff is very limited, and other people's staff are probably the same way. Whoever your representative is, you may be the first person addressing them with a problem. So it's best to come in with your problem and see what your congressman can do first before you start getting angry.
Man, I tell you what, I called Congressman Mike Bost. He ain't even my congressman. And he is the head of the Veteran Affairs House Committee. So he's the head of Morgan. And I tell you what, I called them and I was like, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for actually sponsoring the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act. And they were just so nice. They're like, well, thank you. We don't get calls like that. They never get calls to say thank you when you support them on something. And even when they have good legislation for you, they don't get it. And I tell you what, so like after I said that and I asked questions and thanked the staff for what they do, they came quickly, and I sat there and watched the House committee. And then Mike both got in there, and he was fired up, and he was like, yeah, they even send veterans to empty buildings. I'm like, yeah, that was me. That's what happens. They'll move for you. So keep in mind when you talk to your politicians. So we're going to go ahead and keep going, okay? Hey, how do I keep going?
Bring that.
I was like, okay, I hit a button. Let's go to Kara.
Wrong button.
Oh, I hit the wrong button.
You hit the wrong one.
That's great. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, so listen to what I'm about to tell you. How you good to see you. This is what I'm about to tell you. This is very important, okay? This is another one of the things that I've learned in my first couple of months up there. Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, the lower chamber and the upper chamber, I'm part of the lower chamber, Congress, is very theatrical. Okay? Very, very theatrical. When that camera turns on, there's the beating of the chest, the pounding of the drums, and the second that camera's off and we walk off the committee floor or off the House floor, it's business as usual. How you doing? How's your kids? Great to see you. What can we do? How can we work together on this bill? Would you help sponsor me on this? Can we tweak it a little bit to get this across the House? I have made relationships on both sides of the aisle. Right, I'm telling you right now, right up front. And some of the relationships and some of the folks that I've gotten a chance to sit with and chat with are the nicest, sweet that you've ever met. But when they activate, I walk away. They do what they do best. They represent their base. You'll see them on TV. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The alpha play, the varsity squad, right? The ones that we just don't agree with, right? At all. Nancy Pelosi is arguably one of the greatest politicians of our time. And if she was on our side, you'd be patting her on the back going, go get them. You would.
If she was on our side.
Tell me I'm lying. Yeah, if she was on our side. Right. If she was on our side. And that's one thing that I noticed about her. She commanded that room. And I only got to meet her a handful. I see her. She's about that tall. But I mean, knows what she's doing, okay? And the reason I tell you that is because I want you to know exactly what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing while I'm up there, okay? Fair enough? Fair enough? I'm not saying I don't agree with them at all. I'm just saying that's how I see things unfolding in front of me while I'm learning how to be a congressional member for my first couple of months, okay? Best advice I got, and you heard me say this.
Yes, I did.
All right, so I'm going to tell the ones that haven't heard this before. I had a member, and I'm going to close it out with this, and I'm going to open it, unless we'll get into the questions, because I really want to do that. So first couple of weeks, I was up there. A member from our delegation, a Texan, he's like, Morgan, let me holler at you real quick. I'm like, sit down. And he goes, I want you to look at me. He kept saying it to me. I want you to look at me when I'm talking to you, which I always do. He's like, do not ever trust anybody up here, ever. Don't trust the Democrats, don't trust the Republicans, don't trust your staff, don't even trust me. What he said to me, like, don't even trust me. He's like, Morgan, I promise you this. He's like, I will never, ever stab you in the back, but I'll damn sure shoot you in the chest. Because if it's between my district and yours, it's all out war. And I was like, I understand exactly what that means. I used to be a gunfighter. So I have taken that, and every day I walk down those halls or I have to meet in committees, I remember that advice. And remember, hey Mama, and remember, Washington, D.C., when we're working to move legislation, stop legislation, it's a chess game. Our side against their side. I don't look at the other side of the aisle as my adversary. They're American citizens. They represent everyone I've fought, and the rest of the veterans in here fought to protect. They are my competition. And make no mistake, they're damn good, and I take notes. I'm like, oh, I should have said that. You know, one of those kind of things. And then we, on our side, take that and move accordingly. Now remember, we have a small majority in the Republican side of the House right now. We don't own the Senate, and we don't have the White House. So legislation that we passed, our first piece of legislation that came out of the House was repealing the funding for the 87,000 IRS agents that the administration wanted. Those IRS agents were funded through this year, okay? When they signed that omnibus bill last year and funded everything, that was part of it. Come October, when the majority take control of the appropriations because the new budget's coming around, right?
Yes.
The next cycle, next budget's coming. We are in charge of appropriations. It's gone.
Yes.
Okay, so it's done. It's a done deal. It's killed. Okay. Now the bill itself will most likely go to the Senate, where we don't own, and it will die. But they have to have the money in order to fund the agents. We control the money. The Appropriations Committee is the most powerful committee, arguably, in the House of Representatives, because if you don't have money, you don't do. Make sense? Okay. So I like to tell people that because I hear, hey, why are we money? Why is money still going out the door? And that's because of last year's omnibus bill that was passed, where the budget went through, signed by the president, and we're funding it. And that was $1.7 trillion, I think. All right. Any questions on that?
Yes.
Yes.
So where does the money go that was allotted for the 87,000?
It'll go back into the Treasury and most likely be disseminated into other pots.
So it is dispersed.
It will go somewhere accordingly. Yes. Yeah. Yep.
It will just go somewhere or just disappear. I mean, it just
It'll be dispersed into other pots of money.
right.
It'll go back into the Treasury and be dispersed to other stuff.
See, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Why shouldn't it come back to the American people for these IRS?
You would think that actually would go back and be returned rather than be redistributed.
Right. But I also can see his point too, is that we do have a lot of conservative bills that need funding right now. But my biggest worry is, funding Ukraine. But I think he's going to cover that later on because I do believe someone asked a question on that. But I did want to break down what he said is that people don't realize, especially conservatives, and that's how out of touch we are as a nation, is they don't understand is that the last year cycle, especially we know this as the military. So the end of the year is when? September. For the government.
End of the fiscal year.
Right. So that's why you'll have government shutdowns usually around October because the budget hasn't been passed yet. So they've already funded until October. And that's why we're not seeing these changes now from our representatives. And I think it's because even our older generations, everyone wants instant gratification. And that is not a Democratic issue or Republican issue. That's a society issue on the whole because they don't understand how politics work or their legislative system.
Or how the government's organized.
Yeah.
And really how it does infiltrate our lives on a very deep basis that we're not even aware of in a lot of cases.
Right.
People just don't know where their rights have been violated, where their rights start and where they stop, and technically they don't have a stopping until it gets bad.
Right.
When you get out of line.
Right. Well, you ready to continue?
Yeah, let's get going.
All right, guys. If y'all have any questions or comments, put them up here in the chat.
I had a thought actually
Look,
about
here's
this.
Paul.
Hey, Paul. Let's see. Before we go on, I just had this thought. So I wonder how many big fluffed up government programs such as the IRS are going to be made and then be funded just so that the money can go back and be put into other things such as the war in Ukraine. How much of these huge scares that we're seeing in government control are just fluff pieces just to hide money?
So I think if I was a freshman congressman, you know, there would be that little shock factor of getting in there and understanding how the system works, because there's how the system is supposed to work,
And then
and
there's
here's how the current system works right now. So, and even then, that's still chasing rabbit holes. And Morgan is on 3 committees. The average congressman is on 2 committees, by the way. So he's on 3. I'm just wondering if he even has time to even answer those questions.
I know.
I mean, and he is a freshman congressman, and he's in the lower house, not the upper house. So
his staff is even probably much smaller than others around him or above him, let's say.
So most congressmen here already have 2 offices. He only has 1 right now. And I'm letting you know, every time, you're right, Paul, he has many subcommittees as well. I think one of them is on the border, and he's the vice president of that subcommittee. But what is really, I lost my, Paul, you took my thoughts. What was I trying to say? Because
I don't know. Just Paul. The hell, Paul.
I need to have you on this show one day, Paul.
You're talking about all the subcommittees that he's on, how he's been able to be the vice president.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he goes down all these rabbit holes of like what your question is with funding, I mean, the guy's not going to sleep. And I think it's like a team effort. And that's what I'm afraid of. You know, I think that his fellow, if he keeps going like this, I think he's going to start making a lot of enemies. Because some guys like are in there, they're all for the show, and he's going to outshine them because he knows one fact: the truth can stand on its own, and it doesn't need, it doesn't need his help. He doesn't need to pull the flash there. And what I'm worried about, if he does go chase down all these rabbit holes, I don't know, I've sent him on some of them myself, is that he's going to burn out, and then he's not going to have the support of his other congressmen, and they're going to throw him under the bus.
I don't know. He doesn't look like he would crumble too fast.
No, I don't think so. But I'm worried. It's not just him I'm worried about. It's his family. Here's the thing. I don't think Morgan will do that, but I'm worried for his family. And I think as a community, we should be there.
There's his family. There's his staff that he, the thing is, Morgan brings a very, very team-like structure into his staff. He was a SEAL, for Christ's sake. And you know what? I think he makes a lot of the same relational connections with the people that he works with. I mean, and the thing is, he has his staff safety to think about as well, along with his family.
You should see the bags under their eyes, because they're just popping, and dragging them everywhere. And he's working until, he doesn't get out of there sometimes 10 at night. And Miss Holly's like, let's go. And you can see the bags under her eyes. And they're working really hard. I've never seen that. I've been into senators' offices before. I've been into congressman's office before. And I'm so glad Mr. Chief Gallagher called out Dan Crenshaw today. But even Dan Crenshaw's staff, it's like, it's a tea party. That's it.
But it's Friday.
Oh gosh, yes, we had that in Austin. We actually had that. We actually had a case manager sit there and said, "What are you doing? Why are you coming in like this?" But it's Friday. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's keep going.
It's Friday.
I love Texas, buddy. With that, I will turn it over to questions. Again, I'm here for you. I will go anywhere you want to go. Yes, sir. Tom, what you got?
Are we working on the budget for October now?
Yes.
So are we going to get 12?
12 appropriations.
Okay.
So the question was, are we working on the 23 budget right now? Yes, we are. I'm sorry, the 24 budget. Excuse me, 24 budget. When we came in January, remember we got sworn in a little late. You guys remember? Y'all hear about that? You didn't hear about us getting sworn in late, the whole speaker thing? If you didn't, I'm not going to tell you about it because I don't want to relive that.
After January 19th.
It was, so the House rules, the package that we passed is very conservative. Okay, the House rules package dictates how the floor is governed, how we govern the House of Representatives. Okay, and it was created a very conservative package, right? Very conservative guardrails. And one of the rules in that package is that we were to pass out all, in the House of Representatives, you have 12 appropriation bills. Okay, that's 12 budgeting lines from different committees like Finance, it goes from DO, it goes to Department of Defense, and it goes to Agriculture and things of that nature, okay? And there's 12 of them. Now the previous years, what normally happens is those 12 appropriation bills, they are not completed in time, and it's crammed into what they call the omnibus bill, which I spoke about earlier, okay? And the reason that we don't want that to happen this go is because when an omnibus bill happens, you can have a bill in there that says, hey, for veterans, we're gonna do something special for veterans, whatever that may be. And then on the completely other side, they'll stick another piece of legislation in there that says you can kill a child at 10 months old. That's total. I'm just making that up, right? Okay, you're filming. I'm making that up. I'm looking right at you. Okay, but they'll stick that in there. But of course, we want to vote for the veterans. But since that bill's in there, it would go through. Does that make sense? So if we were able to pass the 12 appropriations bills that Tom asked about, we don't have to worry about that. Okay? And we are moving and shaking right now, and it is an arduous task. Make no mistake about it. My neighbor. You could just call me at the house. To answer your question, sir? And we are, and I promise you, Jody Arrington, who's in charge of budget, he is doing his best. And they are working across party lines as well to make sure that that happens. You know, and actually because of how we're governing.
So the great news about Jody Arrington, Dakota and I have actually met Jody Arrington.
Yeah.
So it was a hilarious story. I'm going to tell it real quick. So I don't know if y'all know about Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw is an absolute traitor. I'm going to tell it right now. Morgan is completely distancing himself with him. You don't see him at photo ops. You don't see him with Dan Crenshaw. But Eddie Gallagher came out and told him, and has proved that Morgan Luttrell tried to keep him in jail.
No, Dan Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw
That's on
tried to
video.
keep him in
Dan
jail.
Crenshaw tried to
Dan
keep him
Crenshaw.
in jail. And after 50 senators or congressmen got him out, they signed the petition to get him out of jail. And that way he could fight with true due process. So that's the issue. And we've seen it personally when we had a veteran friend of ours. I went to Crenshaw's office and she was very sick. And their staff told me to come and have her come in. And I'm like, she's in a coma. How can she walk in here? I need you to save her life right now. Mm-hmm. Oh, so sorry. Can't do anything about it. And that's normal. And that's how it is around here with veterans. I know this is going to a lot of Republican pages, but eat shit. I don't care. We need to hold our lawmakers accountable. And right now, Dan Crenshaw is showing his true colors. He is pro red flag laws on veterans, by the way. Okay. Freaking Morgan Luttrell co-sponsored that bill right away. That bill has been sitting there waiting for Morgan Luttrell, and he wouldn't touch it. So I don't want to hear it.
Waiting for Morgan Luttrell.
I mean, Dan Crenshaw to touch it. Sorry. I keep saying that.
Yes, you do.
But
sorry, Morgan.
Sorry. I am so sorry. But that's what I'm really liking about Morgan. He's everything that Dan Crenshaw ran on. And they are, if you look at the districts, Dan Crenshaw is right beneath. He's the bottom bitch to Morgan Luttrell.
Right.
And he's everything that he ran on and more so far. And I just can't believe it.
And here's the thing. He's keeping promises. Morgan is keeping the promises that Dan gave us.
Yeah.
And just, he's a turd. Dan Crenshaw's a turd.
Yeah, go check out Chief Gallagher's page and what he put up on yesterday, because it's wild what's going on in the Navy SEAL community with that. But yeah, I was going to make a point, but then I forgot because you kept getting on to me.
Yeah.
Which was rightfully so.
Had to. All right, we ready to continue
Yeah.
on? Let's go.
House. The other side is very, they're on board. They've come up to us like, hey, look, thank you for the 2-minute votes. Thank you for the 5-minute votes. Because normally what would happen in previous years, because we haven't been in the majority in quite some time, a vote series. So a vote series is when I walk onto the House floor and we may be voting on, like, let's just say 5 pieces of legislation. Okay, that's 5 laws, possibly 5 laws. All right. Previously, it might take an hour to 2 hours for us to vote on that, because you had people voting that weren't in the where they weren't present, right? And we got rid of that too. So you have to be in the House floor right now to vote. We have the first vote that comes up is 15 minutes long. Then it can go to a 2-minute or a 5-minute vote. So we gavel in and out. This was very foreign to me when I got there. I was not by any stretch of imagination, boy, did I have any idea what this looked like. I just had to learn on the fly. But instead of spending 2 hours on the floor, we're there for 45 minutes and we're gone. And then we can go back and start talking about our committee hearings and what everything's happening. So that's good too. So that's the rules package. But yes.
So what about the vote today?
We went there already, huh? He asked about the debt. The debt ceiling. You're asking about the debt ceiling. So the deficit, we're at $31 trillion in debt. Our country's $31 trillion in debt. And right now, the debt ceiling we passed the debt ceiling, but the Treasury is moving things around in order to keep us whole until the body politic passes the debt ceiling. Okay, so imagine I mean no disrespect here, imagine if you had a credit card and it had a $3,000 limit on it, and you spent $100,000, okay? You would either have to call the credit card company and say, hey, can you move my limit from $3,000 to $100,000, or you have to pay it. Hey, people, would you? Or you have to pay it, okay? Here's the deal. And I'm not a clean debt ceiling guy, okay? There has to be some sort of compromise before a large majority of us will vote for the debt ceiling, okay? And I want to be very clear here too. There's talk going around that we were going to cut Medicare, Medicaid, we were going to cut Social Security, we were going to cut veterans benefits. We're not doing that. Yep. Okay? I haven't even been in discussions where I've even heard that. That is political.
Okay, so for our veterans, there was a report that came out. I believe I have it real quick about how they were going to cut our veterans benefits. But I'll give you the example of it. So if you made over $125,000, and it's a plan that was written up, you would have to pay $1 back out of your VA check back to the VA. Here's the thing, is that if you made over $175,000, you would have to totally pay back everything, all of your disability that you've earned in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And that was ridiculous. I believe Ops covered it, but just to be alarmed, guys, go watch the hearing. And Mike Bost even says it's garbage, it's hogwash. But my thoughts on it, and I believe every veteran's thought on this, the fact that is written on paper, we know they will come for it eventually. And then I'm going to sit here and secondly, we need to answer this. All congressmen become corrupt in time. Hopefully he can hold out and get out while he has morals. I love veterans in office. They get real balls. Congressman, you want to?
Yeah, so Congressman Morgan Luttrell, I believe he addresses it in this town hall or maybe in a different one, but he does say that he is pro-term limits, meaning he will serve a max of 2 terms and then he is out of there. And so far, he's kept every other promise. And I'm pretty sure he'll keep that one.
Exactly. And then I hope he goes on to bigger and better things.
Mm-hmm. Senator, governor, president,
Yeah.
Morgan Luttrell.
Dude, do you understand how badass that would be? Is like President Morgan Luttrell and Vice President Marcus Luttrell. Just saying. Do you imagine the shenanigans we could
Can you imagine them trading places? Just
hey, they have body doubles. That would be hilarious.
So you have to find two body doubles that look exactly alike.
So Paul Gunderson, you did say this, is that yes, and if you are married, I believe it's married, they include your spouse's income. Yes, that was part of the plan as well. So it would have been household income. So get this. So we are dual military couples, right?
Because we're awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Never mind. I was going to say something, but so if we made over $125,000, we both would each have to pay $1 back. That's $2. We would have to pay double the amount back. And as I was saying before, the fact, and this is what's really, really messing up with this veteran, the fact that it's written on paper already shows you their intentions.
Mm-hmm.
So
just the plan's there, guys.
they're going to go after it.
They're going to go after it.
I believe it 100%. What do you think, Vincent?
Well, trying to keep up with you two is something else. I was just trying to say something earlier about President Luttrell, and I'm like, I'm going to be dead when that happens. Sorry. So, this game, it's not a game. The situation that we're in across the board, it's really, we have to, like you were just saying, if he says he's going to be in for 2 terms and walks out and steps aside, that's showing the character that, he doesn't want to make it a career. And that's the whole thing. These people need to know that they have an agenda to go in and work on something, get out.
I don't understand who would want to make that a career.
Well, there's several that have. You look at Feinstein, you look at Pelosi. In fact, earlier was mentioned, we need her on our team. No, we don't need that kind of person on our team. Maybe we need the fight. We need the vigor. We need the knowledge of how it's presented properly. As in the case, like I could say for myself, I'm not one of the most diplomatic people, that's just the way I am, but I have fun doing what I do. But no, seriously, it's good that he's going to be like that. And we need to have more of that within all of the states of our union that have the same like mind. Because so many of the blue ones just aren't even close to what we're thinking. They don't have any common sense, I don't want to go. I don't want to get on about my new mayor up there in Chicago. He makes Lori Lightfoot look like a dreamsicle.
She's out now, isn't she?
Oh, what's that? Yeah, she's gone. Oh, but I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to make her look like the best thing that ever is.
Oh, guess what? Sheila Jackson Lee is running for the mayor of Houston, by the way.
Mayor where?
Of Houston. She announced that. She had her campaign table up, is going to events, and guess what? No one's ever there. No one's even at the convention.
And then how are the votes getting put in that case? I don't get it.
I don't know. She's hiding in a basement somewhere, thinking that copying Joe Biden. Therefore, we know it's going to be rigged. So, anyways, Dakota, you want to go ahead and continue this? Because I don't know. I know I was avionics, and I don't know how to work it. I can figure it out.
Enhance.
That is hair.
You got a lot of text. Either way. I guarantee you, every one of the ones that aren't hitting this building are landing directly on my truck. Okay. So I want compromise on the debt ceiling, right? We have to cut some spending somewhere. Now you have mandatory spending, and you have discretionary spending. The discretionary spending is stuff that we can control. We can put money here, we can put money there. Mandatory spending, which is about 75% of our budget, that's Department of Defense, that's Veterans Affairs, that's Medicare and Medicaid, that's Social Security. We don't even touch it. We don't even look at it, it goes out the door. Just like that. We don't even debate on how much money it is on mandatory spending. It just goes. Alright? And that's almost, I think the number's correct in my head, I think that's 75% of our budget. Well, with the discretionary spending, we need to make some adjustments before we'll pass this debt ceiling. Now, here's the reason that we have to pass the debt ceiling, okay? And you'll hear this a lot. If we do not, out of the House of Representatives, pass our debt ceiling, which we voted out as yes, we will default on our debt. The country will default on our debt. Now, so what that does is that will shut the government down. Okay, what it does is and here's the kicker. This is what I was not, because for me initially, I was like, I'm okay with that. I said, hey, look, if we have to move around enough to where we have compromise and not a clean debt ceiling, I'll shut it down. Okay. If we default on our debt by not passing the debt ceiling, we default on the United States. We default. How are you, sir? Thank you for your service. I'll save the seat right up front for you.
Hey, that's reverse tax. That's reverse right there.
Our American Treasury bonds. We default on the American public. It's never been done before. The ripple effect from not passing the debt ceiling, as complicated as it's going to be, will scuttle not only the American economy, but the global economy. Now, we've not passed the debt ceiling before. We've had some government shutdown. There's no teenagers in here, so people understand. People have probably remember that when that's happened, but it hasn't gone for an extended period of time. All right. It's always good business to pay your debt when you owe money. Has anybody got any talking points for that?
Unless it's a student loan.
That's the top one. The top one. And I'm gonna have to use that one. So we're working on that one as well, and that's coming up here next couple of months, right? And that's
You guys work at it.
we do, and there's enough of us that will not approve a slick or a clean debt ceiling on our side right now that it won't pass. I'm one of them. Just so you know that, okay? I don't want that to be the case, but we just can't say, okay, you're good, go make a run at it. I don't agree with that at all. Huh?
Can we go shoot the meeting?
Shoot. Can't ask me that. Okay, next question. Yes, ma'am.
They're gonna run it all different.
I want to say thank you for all your sponsoring, the bills you're sponsoring and co-sponsoring.
Yes.
The handgun grace bill, the Confucius bill, and also the fight to close our borders and your recent visit there. Yes, we do read your emails. Thank you for them. I have several questions, but I don't know the bill number or anything about this,
I
but
promise you, I do not have it memorized. As hard as I try, I cannot keep them all in my head. It's
a lot. There's a lot.
Even the ones that I there's a chance.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
No, that's
I just want to put that up because when she asked me, what about bill such and such, I was like, I have no idea. You're
Well,
going to have to read it to me.
has it already been introduced about giving away our country's sovereignty to the United Nations by way of the World Health Organization. Do you know?
No.
You don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, I need to get more info. Another thing I'd like to ask you about is something that was discussed at the last town hall meeting I attended. I don't know if it was the last meeting, but that's about the January 6th people being illegally detained and stripped of their constitutional rights. Also, one person who was badly beaten by a policeman on January 6th, Victoria White. There's a film by the Epic Times called The Real Story of January 6th. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that. Okay, hold on. You want me to answer
Yeah, I
these
know, I'm
questions?
covered, I know. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I do.
January 6th. It was oversight committee got to go to the jail 2 weeks ago. They wouldn't let us all go. They took some members from the oversight committee. And I got a chance to talk to Miss Green, Marjorie Taylor Green. Anybody know who that is? Yes. Okay, sure. Figure. This is her telling me this, okay? She kind of chalked it up like a dog and pony show instead of like actually getting to see what the goings on were. I mean, you probably can expect that when congressional members show up to a jail. She did say, remember in the last town hall I said it's not necessarily the January 6 members, but it's that DC institution itself that's bottlenecked. You remember me saying that?
I remember you saying that.
Okay, so the information that we've gotten is that it's not the January 6 individuals per se as the DC institution itself. The system itself is bottlenecked, and they are caught in. I know you gave me that last time. I'm just telling. I'm just telling you. Remember. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm telling you what I know. Okay. We cool? I just hear me out.
She's got a big one here.
I got it. Okay. And as far as their, and I did ask this question, Ms. Green told me this, as far as their rights go, since it was on a federal institution and considered, I kicked it out of my head, insurrection, they actually, she did say this, some of them waived their right to speedy trial. And that's why, from what they understand, it's not the individual themselves apparently waived their right to a speedy trial. Again, I didn't get to go, and I didn't get all the information, but that's what she told me. And I think there's just so many intangibles that are going on right now with that. That's why we don't know what we don't know. And I've only been there for 4 months, and they've been there for that long, and you're not hearing anybody else talk about it.
Why?
I don't know the answer to that question either. And I understand your frustration. Please, I do. Okay, give me the next one. You gave me 4. I'm trying to keep them memorized.
I know, right.
Of course you do.
I'll work out.
Okay, yeah, Victoria White. Oh, well, I asked if you'd seen the Epic Times, the real
So I
story of
haven't seen
January
that, but
6th.
the young lady that was, you said trampled to death by.
Well, Victoria White was not killed. She was beaten almost dead, but
Okay, that didn't, from what I understand, that did not happen in DC. That video
yeah.
was from NYC.
No. This was where she was caught up in the tunnel.
People pushing in.
And the people were pushing in, and she was over at the edge. I mean, I've seen it on Tucker Carlson. I've seen it on Epic Times. It has the documentary.
Okay.
You need to watch that.
Okay.
It's because
she was trampled?
no, she was beaten. With,
But there was
a police officer had a metal rod
metal
and
baton
hasp and beat
beating
her
her
with
and
it.
beating her and beating
It showed
her
it.
over and
I mean, you
over.
could see
I
it.
haven't seen that yet, but I will.
Thank you. Yeah, that's because I know at the last town hall meeting there was back and forth about, and you were saying, well, you can see anything online, and
There was one young lady, I don't think it was you, or it might have been you, that said a lady was killed.
there was.
Roseanne Boyd.
That didn't happen the only one young lady died in Washington, D.C. Ashley Babbitt. Yes, yes.
No,
yes.
no. I'm saying Roseanne Boylan was killed in the tunnel as well, one of the tunnels. Ashley Babbitt, I know where she was
Yeah.
killed at.
There was no other report of another young lady dying.
Oh yeah, yes.
Roseanne Boylan, yes, she was.
Roseanne Boyle. All right,
Yeah.
I'll check into it. I never saw that on Fox. I never saw that on CNN. I never saw that. Roseanne. What's her last name again?
Watch Tucker Carlson. I mean,
Do I?
Tucker.
So, Vincent, were you there at the very first town hall that we actually did?
I think I was. That would
So that was the same lady. Here's
that
the
little silver hair lady.
Yeah. So when she came over, you guys, y'all can check out our other podcasts on the very first Morgan Luttrell town hall we did. This lady came up and stood up, and she did not have all of her facts and her ducks in a row. And she talked about the
January 6th.
the January 6th insurrection.
Mhm.
That's what it is, insurrection. And since she didn't have all her facts in a row, she was sitting there saying that 2 people died. And what seems, and I appreciate Morgan's patience. I know he has, I have no right to say anything because I go in his office quite a bit. And if there's any patience due, I'm not one to judge on that. But I feel like this lady is more in like an I gotcha, wants to play an I gotcha moment. And I think that's exactly the state of most of our people today.
Mhm.
She really wants to trust him, but she can't. And I appreciate her.
The corrupt politician has been sort of glorified in this country, like a normal everyday citizen finding corruption in politics. Thing is, you don't have to look very hard.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we all know that there's corruption in politics. And the thing is, there's so much that we can do as citizens to getting our representatives kicked out. I would say.
And that's why there's so many people running and getting involved. I've noticed that the activist community has really even today we were at an event and there's tons of faces that I have not seen before, and people telling their stories on how the government is overreaching into their lives. And they're done. And I'm about to see a lot more, I believe, in the next few months of this activism increase. But I think it was kind of a silly point on what she was talking about.
She's already brought this up with Morgan. Morgan only has so much more information to go back off of. Like, she could have simply asked for an update from the last time she asked for information on the January 6th insurrection, and he would have told him that they just met. The oversight committee just visited the people in jail.
We've seen this before, especially when we go, especially with Kyle Rittenhouse. Y'all have enjoyed us on that town hall. Is that a lot of people just speak just to be heard themselves, and I've seen a lot of that. And Paul, I'm sorry. And I will say this: under this amount. Let's go ahead and address Paul real quick.
Let's address Paul real quick.
That's a busy Fletch turd.
Yeah, definitely.
You misspelled ditzy, Paul.
Oh my gosh. But what do you think? Do you get what I'm saying, Vincent? Is like,
Yeah, well, the thing is that so many, like, he was also talking about the bureaucracy right now of the January 6th insurrectionists. They were a bunch of yahoos. I'm not saying that what they didn't do was wrong or right or anything else, but it's nothing compared to what we had seen previously. I'll put it to you like that.
It's nothing compared to Antifa.
No, nothing even close.
So
when you've got the bureaucracy and they're really going with the old laws, I'm quite confident of it. The staunchest of them. I mean, they call it the gulag. The prison conditions are just horrible there. Just recently, I heard something about a guy that actually died in a cell from bed bugs. Who died from bed bugs?
That happens if you don't get rid of them.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I've never heard of such.
It takes days, is what it is.
Yeah, I just really appreciate what I'm trying to say. I know you were talking. We talked a little.
Yeah,
bit.
I didn't mean to get on bed bugs like that, by the way.
Yeah. I know we were talking about professionalism with your congressman and stuff like that, but I don't agree with what this lady is saying, and I love that we can do that here in this country, because she's not really trying to prove the point to help out the citizens involved in this. She's just trying to play gotcha. And to me, there are real issues within our community that need to be addressed. And just to sit here and go and have your little 15 minutes of fame of, aha, gotcha, that's counterproductive. Is what I think is going on.
You had that question answered at the last town hall you were at, and you're just taking up time from somebody else
Right.
who has.
I actually brought him a list of things. And I wait for him because I know him. He will actually come back and address it with you. And, the fact that he sat there and he told this lady he will look into it. And then he did address that he did check into it with Margie Taylor. That's not on his committee and that's not on his board, but he did address it for her. I think that was a bit disrespectful. Let your congressman work for you. They'll come back to you. So,
yeah. But I did have one question that he brought up. Who waives their right to a speedy trial, and what reason do they have to do that?
Yeah, that's what this is.
If they're plea bargaining, and they know they could get, say, 6 months instead of 3 years. And it gets it in and out of the system, they go with it, supposedly.
See, that's what I'm wondering, if there was an amount of pressure, if they had to sign that under duress. That is my question.
Yeah, if that was signed immediately after their arrest, their blood's pumping, they're not in the right state of mind. They might as well be drunk or on a illicit substance. It's the same thing.
Yeah. I think that's
there's no way that they can consent to something like that.
Exactly. And the amount of pressure there, especially when they were trying to make it about that. And that's what I'm saying is a lot of false charges as well. You're going to sign this, so you can have these charges, and if they're false, they might have not had the ability of a speedy trial. We've seen that a few times with our federal government. But I'm just wondering, there's a lot of questions that I'm wondering, and that's why I'm really frustrated with this woman, is because these are the questions that you should be asking that are relevant. You shouldn't be playing gotcha moments.
Yeah.
But you want to move on and continue because,
we got a ways to go.
Okay.
It's not like you have to.
No, I'm just saying, that's reputable. You can't just say, well, you saw it online somewhere.
Well, I'm not saying that. Come on now. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying that.
No, not you. I'm just saying if anybody can see anything online. I'm saying if I saw it on Tucker, I can. No, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you don't agree with me.
Well, it's not that I don't agree with what you're seeing on TV, but I would be careful.
Believe everything on CNN. The problem is there's no truth in media anymore. And it's all edited content
just
online, and you don't know what to believe.
What you see,
change the media.
and I don't care what news channel you're watching, what you see, there is a spin, there is a twist. Okay, and I'm not trying to change your perspective and change how you emotionally feel about this thing. I have literally been in situations where I watched it on both news channels, and it was embellished and taken out of context. It was not true. Okay, I'm just telling you.
I know my parents taught me that in 8th grade. I mean, seriously. I know.
We didn't even have social media in 8th grade.
I'm 70.
You're 71?
No, I'm just saying. I know the perspective. I mean, I get your perspective.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
So I do want to thank you for all the hard work that you've been doing fighting for pro-life legislation, pro-border security. It's honestly a breath of fresh air to see somebody, just so passionate about fighting for Texas and the district. So thank you for that. But my question is, under Joe Biden's presidency, inflation's gone through the roof. As a small business owner myself, it's killing us. Our margins are getting smaller and smaller. The cost of food is soaring. So my question is there anything in the pipeline to combat inflation?
Yes, thank you. The question is there anything, are we doing anything to combat inflation? Yes, we are. We are moving legislation. Remember what I said, we don't own the Senate, right? Our job right now in the Republican Party is to apply pressure, which we are doing every day. Now, we're down from 9 to 7% now. Gas prices are starting to tick down a little bit, not diesel. Of course, I drive a diesel truck. But they're starting. We are starting to see movement. Okay, and I was talking to the Realtors Association, and the inflation rates are just killing them too, and they need to be around 5 just to make ends meet. So there's still work to be done. Remember, the House is divided. Okay, the money has been spent. We have to recoup that after this next go. That's just the simple truth of it all. Yes, we are absolutely moving in the direction that we need to. But the damage that was done over the past couple of years is not something that you can course correct in a couple of years. Okay, that's 5, maybe a decade, right? For us to go back to 2.5 points, I mean, that could take 20 years. And that's just how the market's, that's inflation. I mean, we've got, and that's praying that nothing clacks off that we have to get involved with, like China, Taiwan, North Korea, South, that kind of thing. And we're just kind of outside the bubble on Ukraine right now. It's a complicated world we live in. Yes, sir.
So I appreciate everything you do for all of us veterans. I know you have our back. And I know you know very well that I like to make sure the VA is held accountable. But one thing I think we have done a poor job of is every once in a while there is a gym at the VA that does an outstanding job. And there's a lady that works in the sleep lab, or where you get the CPAP machines and stuff. Her name's Minnie Ross Shelton.
Her name
When you go there to talk about my situation, if you could swing by there and thank her, I think it would be very nice.
Yes, sir.
learned more about Washington in the last 20 minutes than I ever knew growing up. Ever. So you're doing good. Thanks for your service. What's the state of our military? Where are we at? All the crap we're seeing all on make-believe TV, where are we at with our military? Are we buying stuff? Are we prepared?
So the question was, what's the status of our military? I had General Milley and Secretary Austin in front of the committee this past week. Secretary Austin stated that retention is at a 50-year high. Okay, I did for that. This close to saying, well, if I was still in and the economy was like it is right now, I would stay in for the rest of my life. I didn't do that. Okay. But retention apparently is at 50-year high, right? Recruitment, there is a struggle in certain branches. Marines kill it. You just raise your hand because you're a Marine. I'll give you a second. You got a question? Let me finish this one. I'll continue. Okay, Marines are good. I talked to the Secretary of the Navy, the Deputy Secretary, Undersecretary for the Navy, and the Navy met their quota, but Army, Coast Guard, and don't forget about Space Force now. We got Space Force. I love, we got Space Force. I got an Air Force guy here too, so now, as far as the military itself, okay, our numbers, you can plug and play. And the readiness, our industrial footprint when it comes to our military shipbuilding capabilities, submarine capabilities, we are very deficient and behind our adversaries,
Yes.
China especially. Okay? You can't fast forward tape when it comes to an industrial footprint. Over the decades, we've done a job at pushing industry away. We've done a great job of pushing industry away to those places that now are adversarial force. Okay? And we're having to reel that back in. And that probably won't happen in our lifetime, where we're whole again. Okay? It's a big move. Okay? We pump out maybe 2 ships a year. China pumps out 10. I don't know if those numbers are exact, but it's right in there somewhere. You get what I'm saying. The biggest concern I have, now I'll always say this, our armed forces are the meanest, nastiest, best trained SO. I mean, they are good. We are badass, okay? And if we got to go against Russia, China, Iran, we're ready, okay? And I don't care what you hear about how awesome and how scary and terrifying any other service is in any other country, nobody touches us, especially the Marines. I have one Marine saying it's not Marine.
So I will address that. So on the committee, Vincent, General Miley said that we can't afford to go to war on 2 fronts.
No, that was just recently also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
last, I'm going to say 7 days, 3 to 4 days.
yeah, but the thing is that this hearing he came home from this town hall right after that hearing. So
Well, they're also trying to figure out who's allowing drag queens to enter. It's one of the forts. Entering the drag queens anyway, having them to entertain the troops' children.
no, they've already done that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and you've got the DOD Austin. I mean,
Yeah, they're teaching CRT to troops now.
Yeah.
By the way.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a very, 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 and I'm going to just say it like this. I think we have an extremely violated military at this point, as far as the leadership above allowing for and bending to some of these thought processes that they're just not there. Boy is a boy, girl's a girl, a man is a man, and sir, so on and so forth. I mean, I just don't get it.
I don't either. I have a question because Lauren brought up a really good point. Where she says, I don't have confidence in our military today. Well, I'm just wondering, I know this when I served under Obama, I didn't really have confidence in ourselves either. And I was troops. So if we don't have confidence in ourselves as active duty personnel,
Thing is,
they're miserable.
I'll tell you this. I served with a lot of really great people.
Mm-hmm.
I served with a lot of shitbags too.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always one bad apple everywhere you go. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're in the service of the military, you're flipping burgers and fries. But I will say this: there's way too many. There is way too many that fall through the cracks.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this too, is in that committee that Morgan was talking about, it talked about troop morale, and it's way in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that General Miley was sitting there saying, well, I think it's there to motivate our troops. Well, if it's not motivating our troops, if their
morale
is in the dirt, it's not working.
Here's the thing. I know a lot of us are military here. We're
all military here.
Well, right I mean viewers as well. I mean right now, but
actually we're all military in our viewers,
we are.
Believe.
Yeah, but stop cutting me off. But anybody else that sees this who doesn't understand the importance of morale in a command, I have seen low morale, low camaraderie decommission entire commands.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
The cow pens.
Yeah, that's right. That was
because of low morale. They lost 3 triads, 3 COs, 3 CMCs within a span of 9 months
Yeah. And
because of low morale.
Yep.
And they just decommissioned the ship because superstition got the better of the Navy and said that the ship was cursed.
Yeah. There are really.
This is in
What ship was this?
2015.
Cow pens.
Okay.
And I've seen it too, especially in submariners. They have higher suicide rates. And I've seen the increase in suicides within the submariner community. And of course, there are tall tales in the military still, in the Navy, especially till today.
Well,
like you would say.
The thing is, there's always tall tales out on the water. So
Yeah, the whole cursed ship thing,
mm-hmm.
Definitely. And that was, what was it? It was, I believe it was in Virginia. I don't know, a few years back about the submarine community.
I'm not sure about
and
that.
the amount of suicides there. That was a big problem too.
But
So
you guys are bringing on morale. It was actually brought up at a service I had gone to last weekend about Uncle Sam. You remember Uncle Sam? He used to wear the big, tall hot stove.
Yeah.
And the red, white, and blue, everything was very patriotic. And I want you.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Well, that actually started, believe it or not, with the Brits. And then we picked it up, and Germany picked it up, and so on and so forth. And they used it in different campaigns throughout the various wars about I want you. Apparently, there's one that I've yet to see, and I'm going to look it up. In fact, thank you for prompting this conversation or this story. There's one where he's actually wearing white sleeves. And I'm thinking that's more or less of the IRS agents, I want your money type thing. But seriously, the morale is definitely down. We no longer have, and I don't even want to go here, but I have to because just desserts, I guess. Top Gun. I mean, Officer and a Gentleman. There were movie stripes that really, they made you laugh a little bit, made you cry, but made you think about the morale of what it's like to be in our military.
I love stripes.
Yeah.
Down Periscope.
Down Periscope. Oh my gosh.
Down Periscope was the greatest.
Major pain. It's major pain for you Marines.
Yeah, Major Pain was another good one. I like that one.
Oh, yeah. I would say this. It's that. So we have more. What were the name of the officers?
They are changing Uncle Sam to a dragon.
Yeah, the EEOs, equal.
The new officers that this woke has put out. It's
oh no, those have been around for a while. They were in when I was there.
not equality officers. It's the woke officers in there.
I'm not
There
sure
was
what they're called.
remember there was that Navy sailor that complained. There was more. I believe she said. Like the EO officers, equal opportunity officers versus officers that are there for war.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, morale is sinking. Because I can see, like Sam Maynard sitting here saying the Marine Corps is known as the suck because it sucks so bad to be in it. Ross here says the beatings will continue until morale improves. I get it.
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening.
No, put the last one on. Put Paul's on.
Yeah.
Paul, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
They're changing Uncle Sam to a drag queen underneath that one. There we go. I mean, I can't wait to see are they going to put Nancy Pelosi's face there?
That would be funny.
That would
Someone's going to do
morale.
it. That would improve morale. You're right. Make fun of Nancy Pelosi.
What about the libtard, Dizzy libtard, Dizzy?
Oh,
She put her face in there instead.
Ditzy Fletcher.
Ditzy Fletcher. God, that'd be great. I mean, I could say something. Is it after 9? Yeah, I believe that she sucked dick to get in office. To be honest, I really do.
Who would let her?
It happened.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know a few hardware store managers, that's for sure. I'm not letting that go to the day I die. I swear.
Yeah, so sorry guys, we can't get a little dirty until after 9.
It is after 9.
$9.25.
$20 is $20.
Right. going?
Standards, Ross, standards.
All right.
Let's go.
I used to get standing ovation. Your brain? Come on now. Anyhow, I need to put that out.
He gave him away.
We are always at the ready. Okay. Now one of the other hot button topics where you hear about the military is that the wokeism that's being pushed in, and the equity and inclusion that has happened. Okay. I had some Marines tell me they came to me and they asked because they had heard that you're not allowed to say sir, ma'am anymore when you're addressing it, when you're addressing it. That's not true. Okay, that's not true. I talked directly to drill instructors. Like, that's just cannon fodder that somebody threw out into the air, right? And they just took it and ran with it, right? Just spin you up. We are doing our best as the majority once we have the ability to start. Every single person that's assigned or appointed is from this administration. So what, General Milley, an amazing career, right? I think so. You may not agree with me, and he's had his bumps in the road as the chairman, but he follows orders from the commander in chief. Period. End of discussion. He follows orders, and if you have so many people in positions of authority that have to follow orders, that's what they do. Now, if you get a Republican president in, he said, we're done with him. And he cleans the slate, and he puts individuals in place that follow his orders, then it changes, okay? The worst thing that ever happened is politics got into the military. That should never happen.
Yeah.
Our military is designed for one thing, the defense of our country. Putting foot to ass for country all day. Putting foot to hiney for country. Period. End of discussion. That's what we do. That's what we're designed for. Done. And hopefully we can swing back to that. But please have faith. Please have faith. Did I say something made you mad already?
No, I just have a question.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to this young lady right here, and then I'll come back to you, ma'am, and then I'll get you.
Why has the VA been allowed to fight us for care in the community and the non-utilization of it? And why have they been allowed to? Why has the VA been allowed to fight us about utilization of care in the community? They say they're doing the Care in the Community Motivation Act, but they're not. They were told to expand our mental health care and our long-term PTSD, which is expanded mental health.
So there hasn't been any cuts. There's most likely been. So the question was, why is VA and community care cut long-term post-traumatic stress disorder
Why
treatments?
has the VA been allowed to fight us for care in the community?
And the care in the community. Legislation is in place, okay? Now here's where I come in, all right? It's when individual institutions are not following the rule of law, okay? And I told you this the other night. I can't see everything. Get them, girl. I can't see everything. I can't. And I told her the other night, you have to be my eyes and ears. And then you have to activate me and let me do my job by holding them accountable, right? And that's what I'm doing. There haven't been cuts, okay? That would never pass muster. But once we get what we get in the veteran community, it stays. Yeah. It's concrete. It's individual responsibilities, and it's also institutional responsibilities that may be failures. Okay? Fair enough?
I'm not saying you're failing.
No, baby, I got you. I'm just saying.
Everybody before you is failing. It's that they'll pass this legislation and then the VA doesn't do their job.
Oh, I got it.
We're not getting what we need.
It's my job is to keep the foot on it. Like, I went to the Conroe VA, and they still mandatory masks.
Yep.
And that evening, I made a video and sent it out, and then literally the next day, I spoke with the Secretary of VA. And I said, sir, you treat my veterans differently. I can't have that. I need your help, please. Secretary McDonough has been very gracious to me. He answers my phone calls. He has come to see me. And he's like, you taking it? This is like my rock. I was like, he said, if you give me 2 weeks, I'll course correct it. And 2 weeks today, he calls me, he's like, it's done. sent me the memo. I got, just chill, bro. Sent me the memo. I saw it. I was like, outstanding. It left him, when it went down inside the organization, it got lost.
Yep, it sure did.
I called back.
Good for you.
He said, I was not aware. His deputy called our CBOC directly. Okay, I was fortunate enough that me in my area, I had him just so the problem is the machine, right? But now, hang on. But you don't have to wear masks in Conroe right now. It's done. The guidance is out. They follow CDC guidance. So if there's a low threat or low to medium risk, no mask mandates. If it bumps up and we have a activation, if you will, since they are a federal institution, they have to follow federal guidelines, and they will ask you to put your mask back on. But right now, we're free and clear. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go down deeper in the rabbit hole for you. And I saw this firsthand when I was in DC at the Department of Energy. When it gets out of a secretary's hand, a deputy hand, and it goes down into the general counsel and below in that bureaucracy, it's slow rolled, it's kicked around, it's forgotten. My job, stay on it. Your eyes and ears help me do my job. Okay?
Well, the reason I ask that is because I was told if I'm not a priority one, I can't go outside, and continuity of care is not important. And a priority.
I'm saying I'm gonna crawl down a rabbit hole with you. This is definitely a 2-hour conversation I gotta have with you, right? Because that goes into weight, everything that everybody, I hear you, the wait times, the deflections, and what you're saying, it happens, I got it. And I've only been doing this 4 months, give me a chance, guys. We cool? Okay.
I can say that as priority one.
Hang on. I'm the congressman here.
Okay, so I hope you never become one of the actors or actresses.
Talk louder or stand up.
Because
Over there can't hear you.
excuse me, bossy.
It's not the
I hope you never become one of those actors in Washington, D.C., because we didn't hire people to go there and be actors or actresses. We hired them to get something done. And I have a hard time believing Mr. McConnell has enough people to support him for election. But you know what? I don't know. Everybody in America. But when I travel across America, it is very much people who still have Christian values and they still love America. So I don't know where all the, of course I do think that the Democrats stole the votes in the whole 9 yards. So anyhow, but my question to you is, and I would have asked Governor Abbott this recently, but I didn't get a chance to, is that if he has called an invasion on our southern border, why the heck is nothing happening? Because I'm convinced that there has to be somebody that is trying to ruin our country, because there's no other way to explain this. It's insane. And I think you knew this, but my mom was a missionary for 50 years in Mexico. And she said to me, she said, honey, one of the things you got to remember is the cabal is in the government in Mexico and the government's in the cabal. And I think to myself, I think about cartel. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. And so,
Cartel,
yeah, cartel.
You're going with that, but
Yeah, the cartel, yes, the cartel. And so she had said that for the whole 50 years that she was there ministering. And so I'm really just frustrated that it seems like for all the money and all the taxes and all this stuff that we do, nothing ever gets done. And what's the point?
It's an easy answer. It's easy for me to answer this question. And it's the current administration. We have met, because I'm on Homeland Security.
So even in Texas, if he called an invasion for Texas,
The water line is a federal border.
yeah, I've heard that, like 15
It
miles.
really is though. 15 miles, no, the entire border of our country, that waterway is federal. State cannot touch it. And if people come across illegally, they enter into Texas. There are landowners on the border right now that don't care if they're on there, so there's no trespassing. So once you leave the border where the federal agents are, you move through the land that's privately owned. Who's going to wrap them up? It's complicated. We met with the Customs and Border Patrol leadership. We've met with DPS, National Guard, and every single one of them say that there is no control at all. Mayorkas is coming to sit in front of us on the 19th. If you watch C-SPAN, I highly recommend it. Wait till I go. Say it.
On the 19th?
19th. This month. Yes, ma'am. He has the ability to secure the border. And I've heard, and if you break it down, probably shouldn't say this.
Doesn't he have the responsibility?
He does. He has fiduciary responsibility. So does Mayorkas. They're failing in their fiduciary responsibilities, which we are going to hold them accountable. We do our best. Okay. Please remember that as a legislator, I cannot put anybody in jail. I can't do that. And I have to be very careful what I say. Because if I say that, that's a conflict for me if I'm looking at in a hearing at that individual. Hands up. That's the difference between being a candidate and a congressman or a woman. Because if you say certain things, that will jeopardize the reaction. Okay? So, again.
Why can't we then come to where Texas border starts? And I realize that there are some landowners, but there's a lot of landowners who would also be cool with putting our own wall up.
This is, and
Let them come.
I've been to El Paso, I've been to McAllen, Brackettville, Del Rio.
That's where my mom was based out of Del Rio.
What is it? It'll turn your stomach when you go in there because it is
I'm talking to my mother's friends from Del Rio. They
processing
said it's practically
nightmare. And we're at a point now where they're giving them cards. You know, because when you come through and you get processed, you get a card. You're like, hey, this is where I'm going. This is my show up date to the court. And here's the date that I have to be. They don't even put that on there sometimes. It's the leadership. As frustrating as that sounds, and I wish I could say, hey, we're doing it. I'm not the president of the United States.
But why couldn't we build our own wall on Texas property?
You can build it where there's a landowner down in McAllen, and I don't know how long it was, but he built it's that tall around his entire ranch. And when we were going down the waterway with the DPS, on our way back, Border Patrol grabbed somebody up right there. Mexico's right there. It's literally right there in that river we're at. There's America, there's Mexico. All cartel, and they were just pushing right. All the cartel, they had spotters as we were moving through. As soon as we went by, radio up, move them across.
Yeah, we've been to Eagle Pass.
See, that's what makes me think that this president, not that he's really the president, but anyhow, that this man is being told what to do by some higher group, and I don't even can't address that.
I'm not disagreeing with that statement. I get it. I'm frustrated too because I'm the one that has to look at everybody. I have to look you in the face and answer your question. Tell me why my border is not secure. I have to answer that question, right? So when I ask Mayorkas, right? I doubt the president will ever talk to me or the vice president. I have to ask him that question because I have to answer it, and I think that's lost on them. That we're down here. Texas members and all the border states, these members, us, are having to stand in front of the parents whose children died from fentanyl, have the sex trafficking, the gangs. Why are you so frustrated about the border? And I have to stand here and do my best to try to explain to you why this is happening, and the only answer I can, because as far as we peeled that onion back, it lives in the fiduciary responsibilities of Mayorkas and the vice president and the president.
So can't you find him in contempt of Congress for not doing his job?
On the 19th, watch C-SPAN. You got one?
You were talking about No, go.
You went 3 times. Yes, sir. You got one, sir?
I was just, when you talking about the gas prices coming down.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm afraid you're robbing the military. That's the problem. That's part of the problem with the function of this. Our state, we can talk about all these great things going on we've got to do. So we lose our freedom, we won't be having meetings like this.
I understand it. Exactly. Thank you for your service, too. And I understand exactly what you're saying. We're not taking directly from our military.
No, I'm just talking about our freedom in general. I mean, the border problem done, I mean, that is just pitiful.
Yes,
That
sir.
is just pitiful.
It is.
I mean,
That's our.
I'm not in the Congress, but I think I'd just go down there and camp out down there myself. But we just keep letting them roll over us just like, you know, what does the bullies do in school? They pick on the weak. So do countries. They all do that.
I agree with everything you're saying.
It's not easy, but we've got a million things going on, but freedom is, our freedom is at stake. I'm just telling you.
Yes, sir. I understand. Now, I think the border is our largest threat, even more so than China.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yes,
come
sir.
across anyway.
I'm getting off maybe one of those directions there. Here's one of the main concerns for me is the election. I mean, is there any talk about, I mean, because all these states, you know, they're 3 days later and everything. I think we can, the Republican win. It's just, are we going to be allowed to win this time? You know? Is there talk about cleaning up the elections?
That's constant conversation about that. Right? That's a state issue. Do not ask me to bring the federal government into Texas.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
this is our state going to handle it. Okay? And I hope to God the federal government had to get involved with that. Same thing with like education. And then the federal government's got no business in education whatsoever, period, of discussion. And what, to your point is, I understand what you're saying. I say, hey, just remember, because I'm a congressman doesn't mean I'm not a Texan and a human being. I ain't been doing this that long, right? I understand exactly what you're saying. But I would never put the federal government on top of the state. The state needs to take control and act accordingly. No.
You were saying we're battle ready. I think we're talking about the soldiers, but weapons and materials, I mean, we're selling our nuclear subs to Australia and all kinds of other stuff.
I got an answer for you.
Yeah.
And we got a briefing on House Armed Services, because I'm also on the House Armed Services Committee. And the submarines that we've moved were submarines that we were decommissioned. We weren't going to use. They were meeting, so they a ship, a sub, a plane, they have a life cycle.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. And as that life cycle starts to end, we move. For instance, all the material that was in Afghanistan, the Humvees, the trucks, and all that kind of stuff, 85%, I think was the number that they gave us. 85% of all the munitions, the vehicles, the weapon systems, all that stuff belong. When you're in war, like it's happened in Iraq too, happened in Vietnam, happened in World War II, we give that host country all that stuff. And what you saw, the vast belonged to the Afghani National Army. But when the Taliban came in and the Afghani National Army ran, they took it. Okay? That's not something that we intentionally left behind. That's something that was there to begin with over the 20 years that we fought in that place. Okay? Ukraine. Australian submarine. You were going to, I'm assuming you were pivoting to Ukraine. I get it. Eventually. I got you all night. I know it's coming. The submarines, again, meeting the end of their life cycle in our arsenal. The weapon system, you disagreeing with me?
No, I'm just saying, but we're not building a lot of new things. We're not building.
We are. It's just a process. I know you were paying attention when I said industrial footprint. I know you're hanging on every word. Okay? A lot of the weapon systems that we've provided to Ukraine were weapon systems that we had on, not all of them, but a vast majority of the weapon systems that we've shipped to Ukraine had the shelf life that was in it. We weren't using them any longer. The next generation of that particular weapon system was coming online, okay? And when that happens, for everyone in here that is familiar with any part of the military, when something meets at the end, it goes into the armory and it sits, right? When we got our 45s, the wheel guns went in and we just didn't use them anymore, right? So when this happened, we started moving the things that we weren't using in that direction. Yes, sir.
What committees are you on?
Question is, what committees am I on? We are on the House Armed Services Committee, everything DOD. Everything the military touches comes through the committee that I'm on in House Armed Services. We are on Homeland Security, so everything internal in CONUS for security purposes comes through for Homeland Security. Bless you. And I'm also on the third committee, Department of Veterans Affairs. So I have 3 full committees, but I'm also on 6. We are on 6 subcommittees. So in House Armed Services, we are on Cyber and Special Operations and Intelligence. On Homeland, we're on Border, which I'm the vice chairman for that, and on Cyber. So we're on 2 cyber subcommittees, and then in Veterans Affairs, I'm the chairman for Disability Assistance. Hey, Kimberly, you listening? I'm the chairman for Disability Assistance, and I'm also on Health. And I'm blessed. Every committee and every subcommittee I've wanted, we got. They fit my resume, they fit my wheelhouse. Very passionate about it. So we are very blessed here for that. So, and I want everybody to hear this, okay? I stay in my lane. I stay in my committee lanes. So if you dig in on me about something that's happening in energy and commerce, I'm probably not going to be able to go down to the granular level with you. Fair enough? Okay.
One more right here and then we're done.
How do you have a question?
We'll do a few pictures.
What you got?
Go ahead.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on for a second. You gonna read that whole page? Give me that. You know better than that.
I know.
All right, I got one more. Yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, thank you for what you do. I personally am not from this district. I drove 3 hours to come see you.
Really?
So,
where are you from?
I'm in the Fort Hood area.
Oh, wow.
That's a whole other, yeah.
Oh, I know.
That's a whole other.
I got it.
And I'm also an Army vet and a military spouse of over 24 years. And I want to come at you with the medical side. I think she brought it up too. I'm a disabled vet. And the continuity of care and being seen and being heard. I've had surgery that I shouldn't have had because they didn't listen to me 2 years ago. And also hearing loss for something they should have listened to me about. You mentioned something about being your eyes and ears. What can we do to bring this to you? Like, I will drive down here to talk to you if I need to, but this is suicide and all this stuff that's happening. Like, I'm getting emotional because it's ridiculous. And I know she's down here too.
I'm listening to you. I'm hanging over. Take a deep breath, okay? I got you, okay? All right, so this is how you either write or walk in or call, okay? And I personally hate the way that sounds because I wish I could touch every single person in the district and even those that aren't in it, okay? If you came all this way to see me, I'm gonna help you. You're gonna give your name to that young lady right there, and I've got a Jedi Knight that works in our office that's all things veterans, okay? But when I said you're my eyes and ears, I can't be everywhere at once. Right. I can't walk. And do realize this, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't call, I have a good habit of not calling the VA facilities. I show up, okay? I do a cold call. When I walk in, if it's announced, it changes. You could see that, right? When I say eyes and ears, you have to tell me what's happening to you, and then I have to address it at my congressional level, right? I mean, I wish I could go in there, boots blazing, swinging, and you know, what I like to do is walk in with a t-shirt and a ball cap and tennis shoes because I look like a biker. And they don't. I do. I mean, they don't recognize me as a congressional member, which is one of the biggest compliments I usually get. It's like, man, you don't look like a congressman. Thank you. I love you too. But for you, if you get, hang on for a second. Hang on 1 second. Are we losing the room? Just give me a second.
I'm going to have a few minutes of pictures, so.
Okay. That's how that needs to happen. Okay. She can tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Well, I do want to tell all my vets, I know you're going to come back and watch this. I knew the veterans that were sitting next to me, and I know that I've told you I will talk to Morgan personally, but in that stack were your letters right there in my hand, and they were turned in. And I have been in their office, and they are overlooking them right now. So that's your update. I will hear something. Some of you put your contact information. Hopefully they will be calling you, but I will update you on that as well. But I have taken up a lot of Morgan's time, but I do know he will get back with you. That I did put in good faith all those letters into his hands, and you saw a stack of them. I'm pretty sure you saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay we could go back a little bit on that last segment there that he was addressing, like the border? I didn't realize that there were privatized farmers down there, for instance.
Oh yeah, there's landowners right there.
There is one guy in Eagle Pass.
I didn't get out my question though.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
With all these landowners and their privatized landowners, I'm taking it from what he said, and they're like right butt to butt to the federal properties line. Is the federal government actually in cahoots with these privatized farmers, allowing this to happen? And then if so, then why don't we just take a position further back and let those guys stay in that little perimeter across the border and build that wall again on Texas soil?
Well, one, you're asking landowners to give up land, and that's not something
Right, and they're not going to pay. So when you do that, they're not going to compensate you. So some landowners have agreed to do that.
Okay, I would have thought that. The other thing,
but hold on, let me finish answering your question, because it's complicated. Because we've been to the border, we know a lot of people at the border, and you know Wyatt Watson. We've been with Wyatt Watson down to the border. Great guy, great man, just fantastic. So we actually had in Eagle Pass a farmer that has had 22 dead bodies found on his property since the Biden administration. And he went before our state reps and pleaded and begged, but he is working in conjunction with the feds to get those bodies out there. But it's literally Biden.
Oh, Biden.
Oh, Biden. I mean, I say that because I call him, the Obama puppet, because that's exactly what he is in my beliefs. But the thing is, it's like the troops are frustrated. They really are. We actually have National Guard dying on the border because of this. I was absolutely angry last week when we were in Austin, and I saw the family members. And Vincent, I appreciate you calling me after that, because I was pretty torn up of that soldier killed. What does that mean to the federal government? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I do believe there's not much we can do, remember, until October, because of the funding. But our border czar, appropriately named, freaking communist Harris, she knows about this. She gets the reports. They just sit on her desk to be filed. She doesn't care. And even, I will say this with Miley contradicted the Secretary of Defense and said, yes, there is a crisis at the border.
I'd like to address Paul's comment.
Yeah.
Maybe they pay off the landowners. I find that highly unlikely.
No.
That is happening, because it's not like the cartel is organized, but the people moving drugs and working and muling for the cartel are not. They are immigrants trying to get across into America, and they're doing this through the grace of the cartel by moving drugs and contraband.
If you actually ever wanted to come to the border, Paul, we do know a way to get you down there, and there is a place that we could stay.
Yeah, and I say that to say this: there are homes of those landowners that get ransacked by these migrants for food, supplies, vehicles, $100,000 pickup trucks getting stolen, and everything to get across the desert.
Oh, and you couldn't believe the amount of trash, or you would believe the amount of trash. So anyways, we have a species here, it's a puma, the Texas puma.
Cat.
Yeah, it was already endangered. It's gone because of this border crisis. So we've been trying to. I know Miss Sheena Rodriguez is trying to go that route as well, as desperate as it is on the border. But if y'all could head over, it is dumbed down, but still rather alarming. There's a documentary called The International Invasion by Wyatt Watson. You can head over to Facebook and look at it.
Wait a minute. Is it intentional invasion?
Yeah. Intentional invasion. Yeah.
Intentional invasion, yes.
Intentional invasion. My apologies, I got that wrong. Y'all can head over to the Intentional Invasion. There's a Facebook page, and you can click the link and watch that documentary. Also, there was a hearing. If you head over to Frank Lopez Jr. or Sheena Rodriguez's page, they actually have the hearing where the farmers actually talk to Senator Bob Hall here in Texas, Hojinosa, and Ginger Fry guy. Yeah. I don't even remember. I just hated him so much because he was just all cheek. I would call Abbott 2.0. That was a wheelchair joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, bite me. I've been in a wheelchair. So that's something you can watch. I did speak at that hearing, and I ripped into them. And I learned my lesson. Don't start chewing out senators. You're not going to get anywhere. But after seeing the body count, I mean, there was this road at this hearing where they showed a road of body parts, like chest, just the chest, torso.
Yeah, torsos.
Arms, legs, just pieces.
Limbs chained to trees.
Yeah. And you see a picture of a man and his kids running across. That is the graphic detail of what these farmers are seeing. And their messages from the cartel. Because these people say, no, I'm not going to do this, and then instant death. And then they leave their bodies there as a message to everybody else. But Paul, if you ever want to go to the border and hook up with Wyatt Watson, just give us a shout out. We can get you hooked up to where you can go and see things for yourself. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, okay. That's a good comment. But the ones that don't want the government involved in their land, why then? Have you ever seen someone who has the government involved in their land? And we're going to go a little bit over time because there's this great story I got to tell you. There was a man in the Midwest, I believe it was in Kansas, who had a surveyor, a federal surveyor, come onto his property, and he found that he had the last bit of untouched prairie land in the entire United States. Hasn't been farmed or anything since we colonized. Okay, so what this was going to do, what this surveyor was going to send this back up to Washington and have it turned into a national park. What the farmer who owned this land did is he plowed all that soil straight into the ground because he knew as soon as the government was going to come in, he would have no say over it ever again. They just take it. They just steal from you. And all of these farmers, they're generational farmers. This land's been in their family for years.
We've seen that happen, especially in California with the wineries. I got this friend of mine that owns a winery, and there is a flower that blooms after fires in California, and they can't touch it after that flower blooms after a fire. And that's a travesty. So their acreage keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And so they're moving to Texas because of that ridiculousness. We even saw it with good friends of ours here in Texas with the Harvey incident. They used, the Houston area used Harvey as a land grab and just ripped land from people. We need it for flooding.
We have friends who had been raising cattle on their land for 168 years. and
they're part of the founders of Tomball.
Part of the founders of Tomball, Texas, and land stripped right from them.
So, I mean, it is what it is. But I did want to, I know we're going to go over a little over time, but he did mention the elections on there. And I agree with him. You do not, I know everyone wants to get this election thing figured out. But I do believe this. How much power are you going to give the federal government to do that? Okay, because once you give the federal government that power, it's going to be twice as hard to remove that power when it's given.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that everyone's sitting there yelling on Facebook, yelling at their federal politicians. Yet I don't see anyone at the Capitol hardly here in the state of Texas handling election fraud. They're not down there very much. It's not on the mind. I see school boards. I see, and that's why I'm personally will not get involved with school boards anymore here in the state of Texas. Why? Because it's a done deal. Okay. Everyone is talking about trans and school boards. They're not handling other issues. And that's what I'm seeing in the Republican Party and these Tea Party movements and conservative movements. They do these cliquish things. And then they see all these hundreds of thousands of people grouping together. Well, take that energy and move it over to elections. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Take that and move it over to COVID. It's ridiculous. And then finally, I wanted to cover the decommissioned boats. It's true. I've seen it. I've had to decommission aircraft. Did it. We transitioned from Foxtrots to hotels to Sierras. That's what we do.
You decommission the ship, they send it into what's called the mothball fleet, and then they're put onto auction, and it's better to get a little something than a whole lot of nothing for.
Yep.
So,
I mean,
and granted, this equipment is being stripped of all sensitive information.
Yeah. So there's no radios.
They're getting a shell that
Yeah.
floats in the water. That's what they're getting.
Yeah.
a couple ballasts and a couple engines, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Or whatever we feel like fucking up. That's pretty much
Mm-hmm.
it. So, Vincent, did you have anything more to add?
Oh, yes. The C-SPAN that he's speaking of, that's on the 19th, this Wednesday in the
Mhm.
morning. Am I right around 10 o'clock in the morning?
I believe so. I will check.
10 o'clock. I think it's 10 o'clock in the morning because at 5 o'clock in the evening, I'm going to have Heath Gilbert come back on down here in Cameron School Board District area. And all I'm going to say is there's going to be a victorious vindication. You can't put a man like that or myself and other people and throw people under the buses just because we don't fit your agenda. And so,
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Going around here, and that's what I cannot stand. With a lot of the party system, even Democrats. Oh gosh, we've met so many great moderates. Heck, everyone we talked to in Austin this week were all Democrats, and they were standing for conservative issues against house tax. It was great. It was they're all moderates. Majority of American are moderates, but the fact is that one is people really don't stand with veterans too much on a lot of issues either. Veterans are special. They're tough. They're rough people, and they just go in and they get something in their mind, and that you need to take action, and they take action. And the thing is, civilians, you've had time to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I, like I said, Vincent, I said in the shows, you're just the hero they don't want.
Well, I appreciate that. I changed my name up there. I put Coupe de Jour because tomorrow I'm going to be going to a very special group of people and I'm going to learn more about them. But, folks, you're going to hear this within time, but states are going to have to take over their own governance and they're going to have to take over their own county governance one day as well, because our schools are completely out of control with the unions the lawyers tied up. I mean, they're just completely out of control. And the only way to do that, of course, is go back to the basics, which is privatize schooling and start looking at homeschooling and start looking at maybe some more of your privatized or your charter schools, even if it's a parochial school, what have you. You have to start getting back down to where you are going to show your concern for whether or not your kid can add 3 plus 4 to come up and equal 7. And somebody can't do that today.
I'm not really worried about the school stuff. I'll be honest with you. As many people that are involved in it, it's not something that we are actually going to involve ourselves in at the Logbook. We are going to, however, we are going to start getting into more getting rid of the woke out of our military. But, here in the state of Texas.
Yeah, but you know what, Kim? It starts with what Paul just wrote. Say the pledge in the morning and God and country first. We've got to do that.
Right. But we in our area here are way ahead of what you're going through.
Oh.
So it's and
baby steps.
Yeah, I know. And trust me, it's you're going to get a lot more information because these other states that have gone already ahead of you, it's going to help your case.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we hope so. We hope so.
Oh yeah, it's the
so the 19th is a big day for the Common Denominator Network and for Mr.
Actually, our biggest thing is handling HB 1894. It is a bill here in Texas. We also have some medical freedom legislation for our National Guard as well, because we are trying to reactivate our troops here that were kicked out for the jab. And that's up in this legislative session, and it's proving to go, or it's going pretty smoothly. So hopefully we can get and we are going to back pay them. So hopefully we can get our National Guard back into the game. And if anyone was injured while waiting to get back in, hopefully we can give them compensation. And that's something that I'm eager to handle and get involved in. So we will give you an update live on Facebook from Austin on what's going on. And that's our big thing. We will be back Tuesday night. And of course, we'll be ready for a C-SPAN on the 19th. So very, very busy.
Truck it.
Yes, we do have a new program coming to Common Denominator Network. It's with Chad and Sally. They're usually our co-hosts also for our town halls.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming up. When is their show, Vincent?
I believe it's coming up Tuesday night. I think it's 7 to 9. The Truck It show, and you guys are going to enjoy that a lot. I think it's great. Mama Sally the trucker, we got Chad the IT guy, so they've got it going on. They've got good dynamics between them. So looking forward to those guys.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us tonight on the Logbook. Thank you, Vincent, so much for joining us as Mr. Couture. And we'll be talking to you later. And we do have one more town hall coming up next weekend. With Morgan. So we'll share that out. I know some of you had a lot of questions because that one was pretty intense. This one was fun. The next one was really intense. Some serious questions were asked. So.
Yes, they were.
Well, I'm going to hope to live stream the school board meeting, by the way, in Cameron tomorrow. So that's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of, because I know we have a lot of people from all sides coming in now, and it's good. So I'm glad everyone's kind of staying in the boat for the moment. So we got to stay together.
Yes, we do. Well, guys, we thank you for joining us tonight. You take care and God bless.
Thank y'all.
Right on.